Hello everybody, it's Jamie and I'm back from vacation and welcome back to another video. And today we'll be going over the story of a ship that is packed with history. So let's open a new chapter with the USS America. So like always, we'll go over the specifics and background history. The ship was built by the famous Holland and Wolff for the Hamburg America line as America. That's America with a K. She was launched on 20 April 1905, which was just about a week ago on the 17th anniversary. The America measured 209.4 meters in length, 22.65 meters wide, and a draft of 12 meters. She had a gross tonnage of 22.225 gross tons, and she was fitted with two quadruple expansion steam engines, powered through two shafts. She was able to reach a speed of 17.5 knots. America was completed and commenced her maiden voyage on the 11th of October 1905. Running the Hamburg to New York route, and would remain on this route for the next 9 years. The first major incident of the ship came on the 4th of October 1912, when the ship collided with a British submarine, HMS B2, taking 15 of the 16 crew on the submarine. The submarine was never salvaged in order to respect the lost 15. Now in early August 1914, the ship was scheduled to make a departure for Hamburg. However, the outbreak of the Great War prevented the voyage from proceeding. From fear of being captured by the British Royal Navy, and so all departures were cancelled, and the ship remained laid up in Boston, like many other German ships. At the time, such as the famous Vaterland, which would later be known as the Leviathan. On 25 July 1917, an order by the United States Shipping Board was given to seize all German ships in American ports, and the America was one of them. As her crew were detained, the ship was converted for service as a transport ship, receiving the ID number 3006, and she was commissioned on the 5th of August 1917 as the USS America. The name would be changed to the English spelling as America with a C in September 1917. Now, the mighty America would take down another ship whilst in war service. On the 14th of July 1918, the British steamer Instructor would wander into the convoy of which the America was a part of, and the ship would come into the path of the America, and both ships rapidly attempted to alter course to avoid collision, but it wasn't enough. America sheared off the stern of the vessel Instructor, just as the break of the poop deck, and nearly sank immediately, but remained afloat for another 10 minutes before going under. The America, despite the war protocols, she stopped to try and pick up any survivors, and they managed to pick up 10 before they left to scene, to avoid the risk of being sunk by German submarines, which left 31 to die. America only sustained minor damage, despite tearing off the stern of a ship. Now, later into her service in World War I, she would also have had a dazzle camouflage livery. Now, as the influenza epidemic was all throughout the US, worries came to transports, and America at the time would report 997 cases of troops she was transporting, and unfortunately, when the ship arrived back into port, 53 soldiers and 2 crew members died from the disease, and the ship had to be heavily sanitized before embarking on another crossing. Now, in the early hours of 15 October 1918, the America began to list unexpectedly, heeling over to port and would sink as her coaling hatches were not closed, causing water to flood, which unfortunately took the lives of 4 soldiers and 2 crew members. Salvagers had to dive down and close all openings below, such as hatches and portholes, as apparently most on G-deck were left open to allow for airflow, which would have helped to the sinking. Salvagers raised the ship on 21 November 1918, and by that point the war had ended. America was repaired and re-entered service for post-war transport, transporting nearly 51,000 troops back to their homes between December 1918 to September 1919, and was decommissioned on the 26th of September 1919 at Hoboken and put into service for the US Army Transport Service as USS America. Now, the America was returned to the US Shipping Board in 1920 and was handed to the United States Mail Steamship Co., or more well known as the United States Line. Keeping her name, she began her first civilian voyage since July 1914. On 22 June 1921, sailing ironically to German ports, and would be the 3rd largest ship in the USL fleet, with following the SS George Washington and the famous SS Leviathan. Now, the ship would have had a normal career, but that's not the case. Now, on 10 March 1926, the America would face a devastating fire, which could have ended her life, as she was a day away from re-entering service from her annual overhaul, when she went ablaze from stem to stern, resulting in a near $32.5 million in damages, adjusted for inflation. Despite the damages, the ship would undergo a 2-year-long repair, and she would re-enter service on 21 March 1928, once again outplaying the scrapyards. Now, at this point, the America had already sank 2 ships and even wrecked twice, and has in some way 101 deaths tied to her, and I think she was tired of being a hell ship. On 22 January 1929, the America was facing harsh and unforgiving seas in freezing winter winds, when she picked up a distress signal from the 3.550 gross ton Italian steamer Florida. Now, I tried to find some pictures of the Florida, but I was unsuccessful, so I apologize, but let's continue. And searched for the ship through the signal's strength. And by late afternoon that day, the America sighted the endangered vessel and sent out a small crew in a lifeboat out to the stricken ship. Crew threw the rope to the Italian crew, and all 32 had managed to abandon the vessel, and the crew lifted onto the ship, as it was considered dangerous to attempt lifting the lifeboat back up, and so it was cut loose. The America would continue service for the United States Line till 1931, and made her last crossing a year later to be laid up in the Chesapeake Bay, alongside the decommissioned, I will butcher this name, Agamenon and Mount Vernon, and would seem like she would become scrap metal in a few years, but managed to lay there for the next 8 years. Despite the aged liner, she was acquired by the United States Army for a second time, and towed to Baltimore for restoration as a barracks to provide space for 1,200 troops. America was renamed to Edmund B. Alexander and was ready by January 1941 and set sail for Newfoundland, but now ran at a slower speed of 10 knots. She would remain to be used as a barrack ship there and would operate for a short period in the Panama Channel and New Orleans. She was called back to Baltimore for a major overhaul, converting the still coal burning ship to burn oil, which allowed the ship to return to her former top speed of 70 knots, with the addition of new engines, and received the identification APL.1. She remained under Army control for the remainder of the war, transporting troops to Europe and the Mediterranean, and went by with an uneventful war career. When the war came to a close in 1945, the ship was refitted to carry the wives and children of military personnel, and continued this service for the next 3 years. This probably being the last happy years of the ship, and she continued till May 1949. Unfortunately, her luck ran out, and she would not be called back into civilian service. Instead, she was moved to the Hudson River in 1951, where she'd be laid up alongside another former German liner, the USS George Washington. The E.B. Alexander was sold for scrap in January 1967. My god, that was a long video to make, but I hoped you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. This ship has quite a life, an immenseful, eventful life. There were many opportunities that she could have sunk and that she could have been scrapped, but she kept beating those odds and she kept staying alive. And it's amazing to see how long she survived. I quickly want to thank all the people who have subscribed recently. That really means a lot to me, that you guys enjoy my content and actually sometimes see me stutter because my English is bad. But even though that, it really means a lot to me, more than you guys know. But now, my friends, we are trying to reach the 600 subscribers, and I know we can do that together. So if you have friends who like ocean liners or ships, please show them my channel. And if you have thoughts on this story or comments on this story, please leave them in the comments down below, because I really love to read them. So thank you all for watching once again, and I wish you a good night or day wherever you are, and we will see each other on the next one. Goodbye.